to take a different tack with this video, because up till now I've been focused on stuff to do with quarantine or just general philosophy. But I can't ignore what's happening in the United States, and I can't stay silent about it. When I studied history, through school and just through my own reading, I often wondered, what would it be like watching the events of, say, the Second World War unfolding, and being in a position where you were actually watching as the brutality of those leaders plays out in front of your eyes. Well, now I think I know. Because after the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis by a police officer, and peaceful protests being broken up by excessive force from the police, escalating violence, where despicable brutality has been used, unforgivable acts by the police of point-blank firing rubber bullets at people, blinding them. People know what rubber bullets can do. They've known since at least 1972 when a schoolboy was killed in Belfast. Tear gas grenades being fired at people as they walk away. Police cars being used to ram crowds. That was a terrorist attack in this country. Now the police are doing it in the States. Deliberately targeting journalists, doctors, even the clergy, a pastor who was tear-gassed so that Donald Trump could have his photo taken in front of the church holding a Bible. This is the action of a tyrant, a dictator. This is the sort of thing that Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, Hussein, Gaddafi are all guilty of, were all guilty of. And now Donald Trump is guilty of it. Because yeah, it's those police officers who are going out there and brutalising people. But why do they think they can do it? Because their commander-in-chief isn't going to stop them. Because their commander-in-chief is encouraging them. Because they feel that they can. Zimbardo's prison experiment, psychological experiment, shows that good people will become animals if they are given uncontrolled power. The Nuremberg trials after the Second World War, where Nazis were tried, so many of them said, "I was following orders." Well, these police officers may have within their ranks some sadist thugs who are enjoying what they're doing, but the buck stops with the president. Even in war, in armed conflict, international law says you can't attack journalists, you can't attack medics, you can't attack people who surrender. And that the buck stops with whoever is in charge. The leader is the one who is responsible. Article 153 of the Geneva Convention. And this isn't even war. On the course that I teach, there are two theological units, developments in Christian thought, which cover responses to brutal tyrannical government. There's Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who spoke out against Hitler and the Nazis, and who even came to try to assassinate Hitler and ended up being executed himself because of his attempts to overthrow the corrupt government. It's quite a famous example. But the other one is liberation theology. And you see, in the 1960s, 1970s in South America, dictators were brutally repressing their people. And some priests decided enough was enough, because the Christian tradition is one of siding with the oppressed, with the poor, with the weak, with the downtrodden, those cast out of society. Christianity has a long history of looking after those people. And many have said that Christ is not on the side of the powerful and the rich and the oppressor. I wouldn't normally go for a couple of Christian units as a basis, but on the basis that the United States is a Christian country. I mean, there are plenty of non-Christians who live there, but it considers itself to be a Christian country. On the basis that Trump has identified himself with a church and with a Bible, not that makes him Christian, then maybe these examples are things to consider as examples of resistance against corrupt power. Now, I'm not suggesting that violence is what I want. I am not inciting violence. I abhor violence. I hate it. And yes, Bonhoeffer tried to assassinate Hitler, and yes, in liberation theology, it was armed resistance against the government. But what I would say is, it is up to all of us to stand up against corrupt power, against racism, against oppression. And if there are any of you out there watching in the United States, I'm with you. I am with you, and we want you to win if you are fighting for the oppressed. We want you to overcome through whatever means it is. I wouldn't normally make quite such a partisan video, but I feel that there are times in history where you cannot avoid taking sides. You have to side with someone, and you have to choose the oppressor or the oppressed. And I want to make it clear that I'm siding with the oppressed. If there's anyone watching in the United States, I support you. If you are fighting against this injustice and against this tyranny, then I support you. I want it to come out in such a way that there is as minimal bloodshed, as minimal wounding, maiming and destruction as possible, but this has to end. This tyranny has to end. So a slightly unusual video from me, I appreciate, but I do feel a certain moral duty. So, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to join in. Otherwise, take care of yourselves, look out for each other, stand up for those who need it. I'll see you next time.